Tonight on CTV News, we have an inside look at how CSU honors veterans and highlights from this Saturday's football game.
Then later on, we ask students about the usefulness of the underpass on Shields and what CSU students are doing for fall break this year. All this and more on CTV News starting now. Good evening, Rams. I'm news anchor Litos Castro.
And I'm Stuart Smith. Let's get started. A beloved member of our CSU community has tragically passed away. 28-year-old Eric Neal Kudlow was a student at Colorado State University and was a research intern at the PCODE laboratory. Eric was a musician and enjoyed hiking, skiing, and tennis. He was deeply loved for his kindness and humor by his brother and sister and all his family. The service was on Friday, November 10th at Greenwood and Myers Mortuary in Boulder. Please visit www.greenwoodmyersfuneral.com to offer condolences.
As most of you know, Veterans Day took place this past weekend, and here's a look at what a couple groups here at CSU did in honor of the holiday.
This past Friday, a national roll call was held here on the CSU campus where volunteers from the Fort Collins community read out the names of approximately 7,000 military service members who have passed since September 11th, 2001. It was clear that the goal of this event was to honor and pay respect to all of the men and women who have given their lives in service of this country.
Remember that those rights come from somewhere. They're guaranteed by your Constitution, but enforced by the service members of our military.
While events like these are definitely worth something to the holiday, one student felt we could do better in giving veterans the recognition they deserve.
Honestly, I don't think it gets enough credit, the people who have died and given their lives just so that I can walk free.
Another student we spoke with also wanted to remind others of the fact that the soldiers aren't the only ones who are going through a stressful situation.
So I think just thanking the families of military members could go a lot farther than thanking the military member, because they go under just as much, if not more, stress and pressure than the military members do, with a lot less recognition.
In the end, one veteran just has a few messages for the people of America.
Yes, despair is not an option. Peace is possible. There's nothing human beings can't accomplish if they're united.
If you weren't able to stop by the roll call this year, we encourage you to stop by next year.
The Colorado Department of Revenue plans to start a process to determine the state's stance on taxing online streaming services after a dispute between Netflix and the city of Loveland. Loveland demanded Netflix pay $120,000 in unpaid taxes on its streaming service. The online DVD rental and streaming video company sued the city in response, alleging violations of state and federal law. After the lawsuit was filed, Loveland rescinded the tax bill, asked for the lawsuit to be dismissed, and asked for guidance from the state. Netflix agreed with the dismissal, but not the possibility of opening the issue up again at the state level. A judge has recently dismissed the case.
After years of research, Susana Munoz is preparing to present her findings on the cultural issues that both undocumented students and students protected by the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or better known as DACA, face in Colorado. The presentation, titled Interrogating Legality and Campus Climate: How Undocumented and Documented College Students Experience Institutional Legal Violence in Colorado, will focus on the cultural impact of rescinding DACA and the 2016 presidential election. Munoz, an assistant professor in the Colorado State University School of Education, will be presenting her research paper to faculty and students tomorrow in the Laurie Student Center, room 312, from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Since the opening of the new underpass at Shields and Elizabeth here in Fort Collins, many students have expressed distaste for its lack of safety. When this new underpass opened in August, many students felt uncomfortable with it. Its long, sweeping blind turns, combined with its lack of safety precautions, made some students to just avoid it altogether. However, in mid-September, the university added new precautions, including mirrors on every corner, a line in the middle to denote the two lanes, and signs that said "Do not pass" and "Slow" on both sides. Del Rey Ciaravola of the CSU Public Relations team said that in the first month before the precautions were installed, they heard of several accounts of people being in incidents in the underpass, but have not heard of any additional accidents in the last 2 months, since the university made some additional alerts and prompts in the tunnel to improve user behavior. However, incidents have definitely happened. Here's Melissa Leavenworth, who had a concussion from an accident in mid-October.
My friend almost hit me, but he kind of zoomed by, and I glanced back at him, and then when I looked forward again, somebody else was coming right at me. He's an average sized man, but I'm pretty small, so when we our bikes collided. He like hit me off of my bike and I smacked my head on the concrete. But I started to walk home and I couldn't like see right. Like I could only see like the top half of my visual field, and then the rest was like prismatic vision, like really colorful, like triangles and stuff.
Now, here's what some everyday users of the underpass had to say about it.
It's not safe. I don't feel like it's safe at all. And when I'm walking through it, I feel like you get hit by a bike that's going way too fast. And when I'm biking, I can't see like who's under the pass, so you have no clue.
As long as you're taking kind of slow, the corners aren't that bad, but I know other people don't, so it kind of makes me nervous. And there's like mirrors, and they have kind of limited use, honestly.
I think the Shields Underpass is a little bit dangerous the way it's designed. I think there's a few too many blind spots, and the mirrors that they put up to correct for that don't do a very good job. Also on the other side, on the west side of Shields, the pass over to the other side of the street isn't quite as drawn out as it should. Some people just go straight by and there's some collisions there. Overall, I think it's pretty dangerous with the 4 blind spots.
The university is focused on continuing to educate people about safety down there, and CSU PD will continue to enforce safety precautions in the tunnel.
The 7th annual cyclocross by Cross of the North made its debut appearance at New Belgium Brewery this weekend, and Colorado State University students raised money to aid those affected by Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. Cyclocross is a competition welcoming nearly 1,000 bikers of all ages to participate in their cyclocross races. Bikers compete in 8 to 12 different races that begin at 8 a.m. The track is approximately 3 kilometers, and racers make around 4 laps per race. CSU Communications professor Beth Myers-Bass participated at the event, selling raffle tickets to raise money for disaster relief in Puerto Rico and California. She invited her students to aid in this event. Several students helped her raise $200 by making their rounds at the event on Saturday. She expected to raise between $400 and $500 plus tangible donations to deliver to the American Red Cross. That's all the time we have for news this evening, Rams. Have a wonderful and safe fall break.
But don't go anywhere, because the president of ASCSU, Josh Silva, is in the studio and is coming up next after the break.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Good evening, CSU. I have ASCSU President Josh Silva here today to ask him a few questions about what's going on in ASCSU. So first off, you've been they introduced the impeachment proceedings. They introduced the impeachment proceedings week 1 of ASCSU, and just how do you feel about that?
You know, I think in any case, I mean, there's so many times that you look at the situation and wonder, with all the different methods that we have for resolving disputes and differences, why the first week and why pursue the most extreme option as the first option.
Okay. So why did you originally run for president? What were you hoping to accomplish?
So I ran for president. I think every year, you know, we talk about the culture of ASCSU internally and externally. And so I ran on, you know, really trying to establish positive partnerships with different stakeholders across campus, and then just internally really focus on actually using the enormous budget we have and all the resources to do some good for the students. We ran on a lot of stuff improving transportation and Ram Ride, along with looking at U+2 and that positive game day experience, which we've set up through the 12th Ram tailgating.
Okay. Do you think the impeachment proceedings have affected the amount of things that you've been able to accomplish so far from your promises?
Honestly, I think absolutely, because, you know, it's amazing the executive branch, we've been able to get, and the Senate too, to an extent, we've been able to get a lot of stuff done. You know, in a meeting with admin, we talked about some initiatives that we want to work with them on when it comes to learning analytics, and we've set up our first community service projects, along with, you know, we started a composting facility in the office. We are coordinating strategies for student needs down at the state capitol. We partnered with the Health Network to launch the first ever kind of CSU Health Fair, where student orgs related to health needs kind of talked about, you know, showcasing their talents and resources available to students, and all the technology initiatives that we're working on through the new position we created. Obviously, Ram Ride stuff is still in the works, and that new tailgating experience, 12th Ram, that we crafted from scratch. And I look at that, and that's a lot of stuff. And obviously the U+2 study, which I think has escaped past presidents and past administrations, we were able to secure. But you know, I look at all that, and we talk about that with administration, and I think about, like, it's a lot of stuff, and I wonder what if we had passed twice as many bills, you know, or what if we had done twice as many things if this wasn't going on. It's just sad that it's sapping up so many people's energy in the organization and so many people's time and resources when, you know, most people would look at it and say could be resolved with a simple mediation or dispute, you know, resolution process.
Cool. Well, so tomorrow's agenda for ASCSU was released, I believe, yesterday.
Yeah.
And it basically looks like the entire thing is just going to be about the impeachment. So what do you expect from tomorrow's Senate meeting?
I expect to not have a ton of expectations. You know, Senate is as Senate does, and I know in terms of me, you know, I'm just going to come in and tell the truth and tell the facts as I saw them. I have no incentive to lie to anyone, whether it's to the media, to the administration, to the students, or to ASCSU or to the Senate. So I'm just going to go in and tell the truth and tell the facts, and hope that people in their hearts are moved and see that.
Okay. Do you think there's a chance that you could be impeached?
You know, Stuart, I get asked that question a lot since this whole thing started, and my response has always been, you know, accusations have been made that are very kind of heavy-handed and, like, salacious, but you look at the actual case of what's going on and the actual charges and evidence I've submitted, and pretty much the reaction across the board, whether it's the students who've, you know, just going to class come up to me and say that they think it's petty, or faculty members, staff members, administrators in the Board of Governors to an extent, you know, talking about the reaction just kind of being looking at the evidence and going, oh, well, that's it? Like, there's nothing there. I mean, just the fact that it's been 12 weeks and they're still struggling to articulate a really clear reason as to what the charges are and why they believe they're impeachable, despite the fact that our Supreme Court looked at the same thing and essentially dismissed it with a warning, is beyond me. So, long story short, to answer your question, you know, I think most rational, kind of well-informed bodies that look at the facts and the actual occurrences would look at this and not make that decision, but I want to respect their decision regardless, and they have the right to do as they choose.
Okay. And if you do get impeached tomorrow, what are you going to do? What's your next plan?
Well, my plan, well, I will be on a plane heading to Mexico on the Todos Santos exchange trip that we're doing with the Autonomous University down there. Beyond that, I think just, you know, jumping back in and looking for ways to continue serving the students and just finish the work that we started when it comes to safe transportation and game day and other things like that. Impeachment or not, you know, I'm not going away. I think there's a lot of good that can be done here, and I'm hell-bent on doing it until I graduate.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
For more information, please visit www.collegian.com and stay tuned for Zach Trombetta with the weather for this week and the best ski resort of the weekend.